But I guess we'll take the roll. For the record, we're not tabling, like, we're not voting to table, we're voting to table the bill, but the chair does not want us to table the bill, right? Yes, okay. All right, I want to make clear that, all right? Please take the roll.
Chair Hassan,
No.
Vice Chair Hansen, excused. Rep. Feist,
No.
Rep. Feist, no. Rep. Igo,
I go aye.
Igo, aye. Rep. Kosnick,
Kosnick, aye.
Rep. Kosnick, aye. Rep. Katiza Watun,
No.
Rep. Katiza Watun, no. Rep. Perryman,
Aye.
Rep. Perryman, aye. Rep. Richardson,
No.
Rep. Richardson, no. Rep. Schumacher,
Aye.
Rep. Schumacher, aye. Rep. Smith,
No.
Rep. Smith, no. Rep. Weiner,
Yes.
Rep. Weiner, yes. Rep. Zhang,
No.
Rep. Zhang, no. With that, roll is closed.
How many ayes? It's, with 5 ayes and 6 nays, the motion to table the bill does not prevail. We're going to go through the amendments. Who introduces the A59?
Madam Chair, I will move the A59 amendment. We've heard from testifiers. This bill has been widely publicized. There's a lot of people making a ton of money in other states that have done this. There's some revenues that are expected in here. I don't know why the state would need to subsidize a variety of businesses that are anticipated to gain wealth off the health of the citizenry. So what the A59 amendment does is deletes the grants for that are in Section 1 and Section 2.
Chair Stevenson.
Madam Chair, Representative Kosnick, I oppose the amendment. These grant programs that you're deleting, we actually had testimony today about how essential they are to create a well-functioning marketplace. It's the intention of the bill to try and make sure that we have a Minnesota-based marketplace that prioritizes small and local over big and national, and also repairs the damage done by prohibition. These grant programs are essential to make sure that, in particular, our social equity applicants have an ability to participate in the marketplace. So I would strongly encourage a no vote.
Discussion on the amendment?
I would encourage my members and members of the committee to vote for the amendment. On page 153, there's an open appropriation. We don't know how much these grants will be. It's not fiscally responsible to vote on things that we don't know what the cost will be to the state of Minnesota. You know, basically, I think we're giving kind of paybacks to people that may be advocating heavily in favor of this. If there's a profitability business model that somebody has, those are the risks that people take when they establish any kind of business, much less this particular industry. So, members, I would encourage, the fiscally responsible thing is until we know how much these grants are, and for the fact that I'm not sure that we actually need the grants, I would encourage members to vote for the A59 amendment.
All right. All those in favor of the A59?
And I'd like a roll call, Madam Chair.
All right, the roll call has been requested. Please take the roll.
Chair Hassan,
Chair Hassan votes no.
Hassan, no. Vice Chair Hansen, excused. Republican Lee Kosnick,
Kosnick votes aye.
Kosnick, aye. Rep. Feist,
No.
Rep. Feist, no. Rep. Igo,
I go aye.
Rep. Igo, aye. Rep. Katiza Watun,
No.
Rep. Katiza Watun, no. Rep. Perryman,
Perryman, aye.
Rep. Perryman, aye. Rep. Richardson,
No.
Rep. Richardson, no. Rep. Schumacher,
Aye.
Rep Schumacher? Aye. Rep Smith?
No.
Rep Smith? No.
Just my bad.
Rep Weiner?
Yes.
Rep Weiner? Aye. Rep Zhang?
No.
Rep Zhang? No. Rep Hansen?
No.
Rep Hansen? No. Rep Kozlowski? Excused. With that, roll is closed.
With 7 noes and 5 ayes, the motion does not prevail and the amendment is not adopted. The next amendment is A62. Who has the A62?
I have the A62, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, you like to just explain your amendment?
Thank you. Yes, so the A62 amendment today is going to be focusing on the social equity applicants, predominantly in section 15, which is on line 36.1. We heard a lot of testimony today, kind of talking about how there's going to be a lot of people wanting to develop and look into this. I think we need to keep this market then as free as possible to make sure that we can have that kind of influence. My biggest concern is if we look at line 36.13 of the bill, section 2 there. This bill is going to be focusing on areas that have large amounts of cannabis enforcement as something to encourage you to get a license to be able to sell and distribute. I just think that's not fair to communities, and we want to be making this as open to the market as possible and not restricting it, picking winners and losers. So I'd like to be seen this as a friendly amendment and hope we can add this to the bill today and remove this section.
Chair Stevenson.
Madam Chair, Representative Igo, I think what is unfair is the experience that these communities have had over the last 50 years in experiencing disproportionate levels of law enforcement. I think that when you look at statistics, you will find that while cannabis use is consistent across, between white people and people of color, the arrests of people for cannabis use and sale disproportionately is not probably a strong enough word, the disparity between the amount of law enforcement activity targeting people of color versus white cannabis users. And so if you're looking for things that are unfair, I would probably start there. Part of the bill, a big reason why this bill is important to get done is try to correct for that failure on behalf of our government over the last several decades. So I strongly oppose the amendment.
Discussion on the amendment? Lead Koznick.
Thank you. Representative Igo, I appreciate the amendment, and if we ask either the author or our research staff, I'm not familiar with any other industry where we do licensing based on race preference as social equity preference that's outlined in this bill. Do we know if we do that in any other industry?
Are you asking?
Actually, can you, no, Madam Chair.
Chair Stevenson.
To correct the record, Representative Koznick, I don't think that it's a race preference. And if you look at the social equity, it's focused on communities that have experienced higher levels of law enforcement activity.
Lead Koznick.
Do we know, thank you, Madam Chair, and appreciate that, and the term social equity probably should have been, would have been more descriptive of mine, so I apologize for that. Do we know of other industries where we base licensing with social equity? Do we do that in, I can't think of any, but is this the first time we're doing that in terms of economic development?
Ben Johnson, do we know any industry?
Chair and members, this committee doesn't do business licensing, so I am not informed on that topic.
All right.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the answer. I'm guessing we don't, and in general, I think it's important that we provide economic opportunities freely and openly across all Minnesotans. And so that's certainly what I think the intent is of the amendment. I will be supporting it, and maybe we'll follow up and see if there are other licensings that's similar in other committees.
All right. Rep. Igo, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. To add on what Representative Koznick was saying there, I just found it unique, Chair Stevenson, how you were correcting me for bringing race into this and then told Representative Koznick that it had nothing to do with race. So it's interesting, a little contradiction. But the point I'll raise is, and this is the concern, so I want this removed from the bill, disproportionately large amount of cannabis enforcement. And it looks like there'll be a report in here on this. That report could reveal things that, if there's cannabis in the crime report, there could also be other things. And if we're going to be looking at putting these stores and businesses in communities that might have other crime problems under layment apart with cannabis, isn't that just putting more risk upon those business owners? So I think we should be coupling this kind of stuff with maybe some public safety reform that we can clean that stuff up too and make these communities not only safer, but ready to accept other types of small businesses. So I think we're just jumping the gun on this a little bit. I would appreciate that we put this amendment on the bill and take this out for now.
All right. Well,
Madam Chair, I'd request a roll call.
all right, a roll call has been requested. A roll call is granted.
Chair Hassan?
Hassan votes no.
Hassan, no. Vice Chair Hansen?
No.
Hansen, no. Lead Koznick?
Yes.
Koznick, yes. Rep Feist?
No.
Rep Feist, no. Rep Igo?
I go aye.
Igo, yes. Rep Katiza Batoon?
No.
Rep Katiza Batoon, no. Rep Perryman?
Yes.
Rep Perryman, yes. Rep Richardson?
No.
Rep Richardson, no. Rep Schumacher?
Aye.
Rep Schumacher, aye. Rep Smith?
No.
Rep Smith, no. Rep Weiner?
Yes.
Rep Weiner, yes. Rep Zhang?
No.
Rep Zhang, no. Rep Kozlowski, excused. With that, roll has closed.
With 7 nays and 5 ayes, the motion does not prevail. The amendment's not adopted. We have one more amendment, and it's the A63. Who has the A63?
I have the 63, Madam Chair.
Please explain what this does.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the bill here, it specifically discusses organized events and says no more than 4 days. My amendment would reduce the number of days for cannabis festivals to no more than 1 day or 12 hours. My concern with this is in greater Minnesota, this bill covers the whole state. And I understand the metro and certain cities have infrastructure things in place that are needed for events like this in greater Minnesota. If we have events, we do not have the extra police staffing, medical services for large events like this. And my concern is that, if we allow this 4 days in greater Minnesota, we're going to end up having concerns and problems that this will produce by having these events. So my amendment would limit it to 1 day and 12 hours as well.
All right, Chair Stevenson.
Madam Chair, I would oppose this amendment. I would direct Representative Weiner to line 74.27 of the current engrossment of the bill that says that in order to get an event license, you have to have proof of local approval for the cannabis event. So if there's a community that doesn't feel that it has the resources to hold a 4-day event, they are well within their ability to not do that. I'd also note that, whenever this is not the first time we've seen this particular amendment, and it made me think of the fact that last year in the liquor bill, we actually had a provision to allow strong beer licenses at county fairs to go longer. It used to be, I can't remember, it was 4 or 5 days, and there were some fairs in greater Minnesota that were going longer than that. They wanted a strong beer license for the whole duration of the fair, and that was primarily driven by greater Minnesota communities that wanted to be able to serve beer over a longer period of time at a temporary event. So we did that, and now you can have a strong beer license for the entirety of your county fair if it's, 7 days or whatever it is. And so it's puzzling to me that we're going to move backwards over here and move forward over there. So I would ask for a no vote.
Discussion on the amendment. Rep. Katiza Watun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure exactly where your district is, Representative Weiner, but my husband grew up in the Otter Tail Lakes area, and I believe that there's a country music festival called We Fest that happens in Detroit Lakes for multiple days every summer. And I think that it just shows that these things do happen in greater Minnesota. They can happen and they can be done safely. I would oppose the amendment.
Lead Kosnick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The comparison was made whether it's in outstate Minnesota, greater Minnesota, a small township, or in the metro area. And I think this amendment just provides some safety rails that I represent a suburb. A couple of the other members represent different suburbs. But we also in the metro are extremely understaffed and have low staffing levels for many of our police departments. And I think that that creates some concerns that I think are valid. And the amendment attempts to address those shortages concerns. There's colleges all over the place, whether it's Duluth or Northfield. I now have a couple townships. I've talked to my township supervisors that they do have concerns where we have one sheriff in that area that patrols kind of randomly. And there is a comparison being made with liquor industry, and I don't know that that's a fair comparison. We could do a lot of things similar to the liquor industry. We don't have some of the same things that in this bill in the liquor industry, and so I often hear the comparisons. One of them was how much a local municipality can't control how much grain belt beer they have in somebody's house, but actually in some municipalities, like Lakeville, you can't have a keg purchased from the city of Lakeville. And so there are inconsistencies, and so I don't know that liquor comparisons are the same. I don't know that you want to do that. There are other activities that are in the illicit market that we're not, I don't think the author would intend to legalize as well. Other controlled substances, other activities. And so I think when we try to compare it to that, there are big differences. And we do have a history with alcohol and liquor. It's not always safe, and there are security concerns and health concerns with that, but I don't think the author is intending to do away with the liquor industry. But I think this is a reasonable amendment to limit how long we can do this. We can come back as a legislature and get it more refined down the road. But I would say people in many of the areas that I represent and throughout the state would have concerns with changing We Fest into Weed Fest.
Well, Rep. Igo, do you have a comment on this? We got to vote on this. We have two other bills, and we're running out of time, but make it short.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. Just in reference to the amendment, and, Representative Stevenson, you had to outline line 7427. I mean, it's almost laughable that you'd put this in here for this event, but not allow communities to choose where they want a storefront. I mean, I think we're just kind of outlining here how this bill is getting rammed through at a quick speed, and we should be slowing down and making sure it doesn't contradict. And I'm not going to blame you for it. It's a 260-page bill. Doesn't even have a fiscal note yet, and here we are doing this. But you have a line in here that says you need local approval, but you don't need local approval for the storefront. Blatant problem with the bill. Local control matters. We can talk about in every single one of your committees. Vote yes on this amendment.
Rep. Winner, do you have something? Nope. All right. Roll call. A roll call has been requested. The roll call will be granted. Please take the roll.
Chair Hassan?
No.
Hassan, no. Vice Chair Hansen?
No.
Vice Chair Hansen, no. Lead Kosnick?
Kosnick votes aye.
Kosnick, yes. Rep Feist?
No.
Rep Feist, no. Rep Igo?
I go aye.
Rep Igo, yes. Rep Katiza Watoon?
No.
Rep Katiza Watoon, no. Rep Perryman?
Perryman, aye.
Rep Perryman, aye. Rep Richardson?
Rep Perryman. Rep Richardson, no.
Rep Richardson, no. Rep Schumacher?
Aye.
Rep Schumacher, yes. Rep Smith?
No.
Rep Smith, no. Rep Weiner?
Yes.
Rep Weiner? Yes. Rep Zhang?
No.
Rep Zhang? No. Rep Kozlowski? Excused. With that, roll has closed.
With 7 nays and 5 ayes, this amendment is not, motion does not fail, and the amendment is not adopted. Discussion on the bill. And I want to remind folks to make it brief, because we have 2 other bills and are running out of time. Lead Kosnick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the, a little bit of discussion here. Representative Stevenson, I know you're tired of running this bill through committee stops, and, you know, I recognize it is a lot of work for you, and you have a constituency or that feels that this is a good idea, and there's a push to it. I'm not naive to think that there isn't an illicit market, and it isn't growing. But my efforts are to, if it's going to pass, which maybe it will, maybe it won't, is to make sure that it's right for Minnesota. And I think that's what you're trying to do as well. But I am compelled by the stories that we've heard of the dangers of it. Whether we pass this or not, the illicit market will still continue. But to figure out what is the right thing to do for the state of Minnesota and its citizens, from a policy standpoint, for every dollar that's generated, it costs the state, in other surveys or studies, about $4 in other public dollars in other areas, whether it's security, education, mental health services. And so this isn't a win for Minnesota at all. Just because people want to do it, there's a lot of illegal activity that people may want to do, but there's a profit motive behind this, and obviously that's what we've heard in a lot of the testimony. I think we offered some amendments that should pause for concern, but I'm mostly compelled by the stories I've heard from some families. I have in my own family, but I'll share a story from a constituent of mine that I'm speaking for as my duty as an elected official right in my district. Her son went to school just south of us, started doing recreational marijuana, led one thing to another, ended up with a psychosis. He got caught with it, and they regret that they hired an attorney to get him out of jail and somehow off the charges. I don't know what the whole purpose was or all the events surrounding the charges, but so they thought they were being good parents, drove down to Iowa, got him off the charges, tried to get him some help, and it didn't work. He continued and continued on a path of using drugs and developed a psychosis. And it evolved into even more illicit drug use, and he's not the child that they sent off to college. We've introduced in other committees amendments, and I would still offer to the author that maybe we should, the science has shown us that maybe we should wait until age 25 where the brain is more developed and we won't be losing more kids. And so I appreciate that there's some entrepreneurs that want to continue to want to profit off this, but there's a cost to it as a state, and that's why it's illegal at this point. That's why heroin is illegal, cocaine, other drugs. And I talked about the comparisons with alcohol. I don't think anybody's politically, the will isn't there to get rid of alcohol. I enjoy a beer, but everything's kind of in moderation. And so the comparisons aren't the same, but what we're doing here is not healthy for a lot of young people, and I'm not sure it is for a lot of adults. But I understand that the use is out there, so.
Lead Kosnick, can you just wrap it up? We got to vote on this bill.
Understood, Madam Chair, and I'm pretty sure you'll get the vote results that you want. But
But I
for our,
have 2 bills on the calendar, and I have been very generous about giving you time
Yeah.
for the minority party to discuss this. So please
no,
wrap it up.
and
so
we had a variety of other critiques of the bill, not particularly germane, so we respected that, and I think we're keeping it there. But I understand your point. So I won't be supporting this bill, but we have made a good faith effort to try to make it better for Minnesotans if that's the route that we go. But I won't be supporting the bill, and I feel bad for families that have been severely affected, and we've tried our best.
Thank you. Any other members? Vice Chair, Vice Chair Hansen.
Thank you, Chair Hassan, and thank you, Chair Stevenson. I'm going to be really short on this. Everybody in this crowd knows that I could talk about this for days, so I just want to say thank you
Please don't.
for bringing this forward. I will not, I
don't-
promise.
I'm-
But I just want to say thank you because the vast majority of Minnesotans support this. Minnesotans have spoken loud and clear. We know that we have the opportunity to build the best model for full legalization in the country, making sure we right the wrongs of the past, making sure we listen to the voices of Minnesotans. This is a well-vetted, well-regulated bill, and a well-regulated market is far safer than the prohibition that we have for kids and for everybody in Minnesota. So I'm looking forward to passing this year, and I want Minnesotans to know we've heard you loud and clear, and we are excited to get this through this year. So thank you, Chair Stevenson.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hansen. You just stole my moment. I wanna thank Chair Stevenson for his work, and Vice Chair Hansen and Chair Gomez and members of the community and folks who have been organizing around this issue for many, many years. This is not an issue that just came from a constituents of yours or mine. It's an issue that many Minnesotans are demanding, are pleading with us, are requesting us to do. And it's also about equity. We know the war on drugs in the 80s and 90s was focused on black and brown folks, over patrolling communities and underserving them and locking people up for something as small as carrying, a small ounce of marijuana, but then just leaving them in jail to run. And then when they come out to society, not giving them a second chance to start life all over. We know that, there's a reason why our, prison system and our criminal justice system is, disproportionately impacts black and brown communities. There's a reason for that. That's not by accident, it's by design. So thank you for doing this work, and I am, hoping that the bill at the end of, session is a bill that has racial equity, that has, it's transformational and intentional about undoing the harm that we have done to communities of color. Thank you, and your last words on the bill?
Well, Madam Chair, I don't think I could say anything any better than you just did. So I think I'll just endorse your view, but also say thank you to you, and thank you in particular to Vice Chair Hansen, who has just been an incredible force on this bill, and really appreciate the amazing work she's been doing on it. With that, ask for a yes vote.
All right, well, Chair, roll call? All right, well, roll call has been requested. A roll call will be granted. Chair renews that House File 100 be re-referred to the Transportation, Finance, and Policy Committee. Please take the roll.
Chair Hassan.
Hassan votes aye.
Hassan, aye. Vice Chair Hansen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Hansen, yes. Lead Kosnick.
No.
Lead Kosnick, no. Rep Feist.
Aye.
Rep Feist, aye. Rep Igo.
No.
Rep Igo, no. Rep Katiza Watoon.
Aye.
Rep Katiza Watoon, aye. Rep Perryman.
Perryman, no.
Rep Perryman, no. Rep Richardson.
Yes.
Rep Richardson, yes. Rep Schumacher.
No.
Rep Schumacher, no. Rep Smith.
Aye.
Rep Smith, yes. Rep Weiner.
No.
Rep Weiner, no. Rep Zhang. Yes. Rep Zhang, yes. Rep Kozlowski, excused. With that, roll has closed.
With 7 ayes and 5 nays, the bill, the motion passes, and you are on your way to Transportation Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have House File 1813 with Rep Norris. Welcome to the committee. Can members Folks, can you keep it down? We still have another bill on the calendar. Please take your conversations to the hallways. Thank you. Rep. Norris, welcome to the committee. Chair moves that House File 1813 be referred to the Tax Committee. Please explain your bill.
Thank you, Chair Hassan and members. It's great to be back before you in the Economic Development Committee. Here in Minnesota, we're fortunate to have many large businesses, Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1000 companies, especially compared to other states of our size. Yet we can't allow the success of these current Fortune 500 companies keep us from also looking ahead and cultivating the next generation of businesses that will drive Minnesota's economy in the decades to come. That's why one of the things I've really been focused on throughout my career is trying to promote entrepreneurship in our state. I helped lead the effort to create public benefit corporations to give entrepreneurs more flexibility in how they structure their businesses. I've worked with the Venn Foundation on a model that's provided over $10 million in capital to entrepreneurs. And now another tool is the Angel Tax Credit. It's an important tool for fostering entrepreneurship throughout Minnesota. It helps to attract capital to our state. It encourages investment in companies based in greater Minnesota, as well as those owned by people of color, women, and our veterans. And